is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a most marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Today I came across a story and I found it shocking. I found it absolutely shocking. In New York City, as we know, they are having a very difficult time with migrants. They're calling them migrants now. They used to call them illegal aliens and illegal immigrants, but now they're calling them migrants. But they're having a real problem with illegal migrants in these large cities. So New York City is doing something very controversial, and they're calling it hostile architecture. I would like to know if y'all have heard about this, but it says that New York City is building streets to deter migrants. Hostile architecture is popping up around asylum shelters. Now, we have to put on our compassionate, objective hats. So the question now is this the best that they can do? Is this the best they could come up with? And will this deter them from coming? Will this make them stay at home? Well, let me tell you what they're doing. Now, y'all, please look at this very carefully. This is a steel bench with sharp spokes sticking up so that you couldn't sit on this bench. Now, this is what they're calling hostile architecture, and I definitely agree with that. In the past few months, New York City has struggled with the escalating humanitarian crisis as numbers continue to increase for refugees seeking asylum. There are growing concerns about the rise in hostile architecture in areas visited often by asylum seekers. This is bringing up debate about the city's approach to the ongoing homelessness issue and urban designs. Now, unless I'm reading this incorrectly, they are putting these spiked benches up so that homeless people won't sleep on them. So yes, I agree with this. I would call this hostile architecture. Hostile architecture, also known as unpleasant or exclusionary architecture, is an urban design strategy that intentionally uses elements of the built-in environment to guide or restrict behavior. It often targets people who use or rely on public space more than others, such as youth, poor individuals, and homeless people, by limiting the physical behaviors they can engage in. Some examples of hostile architecture include anti-homeless spikes. These are studs embedded in flat surfaces to make sleeping on them uncomfortable and impractical. Sloped window sills designed to prevent people from sitting. Benches with armrests positioned to discourage lying down. Intermittent water sprinklers used to deter loitering. Trash bins with small openings prevent bulky waste insertion. Ooh. This form of architecture is most commonly found in densely populated and urban areas. While it may serve various purposes, it can also be controversial and raise ethical questions about inclusivity and public space. Interestingly, the concept of hostile architecture has historical antecedents. For example, in the 19th century, urine deflectors were used to discourage public urination. Urban planning in the United States was designed for segregation, such as low stone bridges preventing buses mainly used by African Americans from accessing certain areas. Well, I knew we were going to be thrown into this some kind of way when they used the adjective hostile. And narrowing streets in 19th century Paris helped squash protests. In modern times, this approach is derived from the philosophy of crime prevention through environmental design, which aims to reduce crime, fear of crime, and improve quality of life by manipulating the built environment. Exclusionary design is becoming increasingly common in large cities. While some argue that it enhances safety and order, others criticize it for its impact on social inclusivity and compassion. As cities evolve, finding a balance between security and openness remains a challenge. Well, they're not trying to find a way to make things more open for poor people. They just aren't. This country can come up with all kinds of ideas to help rich people, but they can't come up with a reasonable way to help people who are less rich to get to work, to find decent housing, employment, and recreational spaces. Everybody needs those things regardless to their income. And this is not something that people just came up with lately. They've had this in place all the time. And this is what happens when you build a society on greed and selfishness. Taking land from another group of people and then working people as slaves. Working people in a slavery situation where you really don't care about the well-being of those people. You build your society on that, and this is what you have. Now we have a society that's supposed to be the richest and the most powerful country in the world, and you can't figure out how to help the least of these, my brothers. And I'm not talking about the illegals because they can stay at home. I'm talking about the Americans who are homeless. Those people, many of them are not homeless because they're lazy. Many of them really have mental issues that they can't handle, and neither can their families. They need the services that a government should be able to provide. So this hostile architecture includes the installation of spikes, oversized planters, getting rid of bike racks, and restricting access to public facilities. These things are supposedly driven by a genuine concern for safety or more as an effort to deter homeless people from taking up space in public spaces. Well, that's what it is. They're trying to keep homeless people and poor people separate from people who are not poor. That's what it's about. There used to be facilities for people who had issues, like homeless people. There used to be places for that. But when Ronald Reagan came into office, he emptied out all of these safe spaces for people who have problems. And this society could afford those things if they wanted to. This whole idea of hostile architecture is just archaic. It's barbaric. This system can do better. I really do understand people not wanting people urinating and defecating on the streets. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see people sleeping in their front yard or on the sidewalk or in front of the grocery store or the shopping center. But there's money for everything else in this country. There should be money for those who are the least of these, my brethren, so there can be safe spaces where everybody can live a dignified life. Everybody is not going to be rich. We are going to have people in our society who have problems. That's just the way the society is worked up. But what does the scripture say? It says the strong is supposed to bear the infirmities of the weak, something of that nature. So we are not absolved of trying to help those who are less off than others. In this society, our tax money should go for something besides buying weapons and sending to other countries to fight wars over poor people, and displacing people. So I just think this whole idea of hostile architecture is horrible. I believe that this country can do better. I really do. But let me know what you think about this. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.